Hello everyone, Coffee here, and welcome to another episode. In this episode, we're going to be going over a few things, but first let's talk about what has changed for the mansion. So, one of the things that has changed since the last episode is we have moved the mansion from this world here, where the mansion had originally sat, to this world. For those who maybe recognize it, if you've been around long enough, this world is a world I had shown during my anniversary episode last year for my 1-year anniversary. At the time, I wasn't sure necessarily what I was going to use said world for, and to be honest, I really haven't touched it much since. But I have decided to use the mansion within this world because it could work really well for some of the plot I have planned. With this in mind, we first needed to be able to move the mansion. The way to move it? Structure blocks. Structure blocks are a way to easily copy parts of your builds, and you can save them and bring them into other worlds, or at least that has been my experience in Bedrock Edition. I have not tried this out yet on Java, and I can try to make an update video later when I have. So we now have the mansion within this world, and stuff has progressed a little bit. So the mansion is here, all fully in one piece, although it was technically transported in 4 different pieces, but we'll get to that in a minute. And then, each of these bricks are structure blocked in along with the glass. And like I said before, we brought them into the world with all the different biomes and stuff. Although the mangrove biome will eventually probably be changing. But yeah, so overall, a lot of progress has been made, and I even have had some friends helping me out with building this. Or at least they helped, and then the computer I was using, because I don't build as much on the computer I used to film, I build using a different computer, but that computer blue screened while I was building. Or while I was building with my friends. Luckily, I am in a habit of copying the worlds I use, so that way in case a game corrupts or something like that, because I've had this happen with a laptop I had been using for Minecraft, where I had made a whole parkour course only for it to disappear. And my working theory with that is that it blue screened as well, because after the computer I'd been using to work on this world here blue screened, this happened when I reloaded back in. There was not a trace of anything except for 2 separate chunks. Within these chunks is where probably 2 of my friends had saved, because when I noticed it freezing and not doing anything, I asked my 2 friends to save in hopes that we could save the entire world, because we've been able to do that in the past. Unfortunately, it looks like this was just too big of a crash, and it just, it got rid of practically everything except for the 2 spots where my friends had been. And I'm honestly grateful that they saved and quit, because this then brings us to the topic of today's video, which is, at least in my opinion, the importance of saving and copying your worlds. Especially if you're working on big projects like this. It helps a lot so you don't necessarily lose hours, if not days, worth of progress. Luckily, the bit that had gone away with what I had already been working on, it was only about 2 hours of progress lost, but that was still very crushing, to be honest. Because it was looking amazing in my opinion, and then that happened. So yeah, why not I show you how to use structure blocks and how to save your builds that way, and we'll get into how structure blocks work. And another thing is I'll show you how to export your world along with copying them. Although one thing I am going to stress before we get into this, I'm only doing it in Bedrock Edition currently. I do not have enough experience to do it in Java Edition yet and feel confident with giving my input on what to do. You'll probably find better tutorials out there for Java Edition, but I'm going to show at least what I've done for Bedrock Edition. So yeah, with that, let's get into it, shall we? Here we go. Okay, so let's learn about structure blocks. Now, for starters, you can already see this is the area that the structure block will copy or fill depending on what you're doing. So, currently the structure block has almost the entire frog. And if you go into the structure blocks menu, you can see it nearly has the full thing. I also love using structure blocks just to see like this tiny little model of your build. But then you'll notice on the side here where you have the different coordinate values. I don't quite understand the offset yet, but for these, this is where you can adjust the size. So let's just change these to both be 6. And then as you can see, we have our full frog now within the structure blocks, well, grasp, I guess you could say. And if we go out of it, we can see that's the case even out of the menu. Now, if you're trying to save the build you currently have within the area, you'll name it. Like this one we'll just call frog. And then we can save it. Now you can use it within a different part of your world, but what I like to do, at least recently, to make sure I have a copy saved, I will export it. Now what it will do, it will bring up your files, and I'm just going to put it into here right now, and I've now exported the frog. And what this means is now not only in the same world, if we can load, and then we could do frog, and then load. Not only in the same world does it work, we can also make it work in a separate world. A world such as this one, which, yes, I still haven't cleaned up, but that's besides the point. So we'll put it in here, we'll load, and that's where we will import, since we're bringing it in from a different world. Then you would go to where you have saved the build that you are trying to do stuff with, load it in, it'll show the spot, and then load. And ta-da! You now have a build you made in one world, now in another. One thing I do want to warn though, you can only the only amount that you can save within these things is 64 blocks. So 64 blocks on the Y coordinate, Z coordinate, and X coordinate. You can only save up to 64 blocks. Hence why the mansion had to be transported in 4 different pieces, because the mansion is much bigger than 64 blocks. Although I will say, you can make quite big things and import them into other spaces, because you never notice necessarily how big 64 by 64 by 64 is until you see it actually in action. And actually I can kind of show you guys all out here, because we'll just do this. If I can type, that's the thing. And as you can see, this is the area it would capture, and this is what it looks like outside the menu. So you can capture a major area within the structure block, and that's quite nice. And yes, I've been trying to think of what to do up there and currently failing, but that's for another time. But yeah, that's how structure blocks work. Now I'll show you what to do for your worlds, both for copying and for exporting them. Although I'm doing this for PC, if you're doing it on, say, your Switch or on a tablet of some kind, I don't make any promises that this would work for you. So let's take this world. All we're gonna do, first off, we're gonna copy it, and we're just gonna press copy world. And there you go. We now have a copy of the My World. Using the copy, I'm gonna show you how to export the world. What you're gonna do is export world, and it's going to bring you to, once again, that file screen. And I would almost suggest you make a separate file for your, separate folder for your structure blocks and a separate folder for your worlds, just to not get them mixed up. But you can create that, and as you can see, world export started and finished. So that is pretty much just how you would export your worlds, and then using that you can save your worlds to your drive. You could probably move them in. You can move them in between devices that way. Once again, I make no guarantees on how well it would work on other devices, because I personally have not experimented with that yet, but I know this is how I use it on PC. And yeah, with that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for finishing the video if you got to this point. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Next week we will work some more on the mansion, but I just wanted to bring this to light for what had happened and potentially help anyone else who might have had this happen to them as well. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. My current goal is to get 100 subscribers, and as of this recording, we are currently at 96, so if you want to help get those digits up there to 100, that would be absolutely amazing. And yeah, with that, I shall see you guys all next time. Coffee out.